Welcome to another edition of Vigorously with me, the Alpine Hand, singer for Breaker. Clare Mairead is in the building. I am so thrilled that she's here. Team Leopard all the way. She's got her leopard. I've got my leopard. This is already off to a great start. Claire, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so glad it's Friday. I'm so glad I
Yes,
had off work today and I can just
period.
chill out.
Oh my God, I'm so ready for it. We're doing like a Greek food festival in my city this weekend, and that's what I'm obsessed with. I want to indulge in all the Greek food. Are you excited for
Wow.
your weekend too?
I am very excited. I'm going to do nothing. I am just going to
Yes.
be in my sweatpants and watch TV and hope my back stops hurting because I've been having like
Oh,
I'm a server, so I'm like
oh,
on my
okay.
feet all week and carrying stuff and takes a toll on the
That's
body.
People forget that. I was a host at
Mhm.
Outback Steakhouse for a number of years, and you're on your feet all day, and your feet are like throbbing. Like when they say dogs are barking, I'm like, oh, that's what you mean, the throbbing. It's
Yeah,
like
and having to
constant.
replace the shoes, like, every couple months. Like, I got
Mm-hmm.
holes in my shoes right now. Oh, it's rough.
Ooh, it's rough. Well, today will be a lot easier, and I'm glad it's already off to a great start. You're a first generation Irish American, so what brought your family to the U.S.? I was just curious.
So my dad grew up in the north of Ireland.
Mhm.
So not to give, like, a whole, like, Irish history lesson, but when Ireland gained its independence, 6 counties in the north stayed under British control,
Okay.
which led to the Troubles, which is a very weird way of putting, like, a violent conflict. It feels very reductive to just call it the Troubles because mass unemployment, really bad mental health issues, and a
Mm.
whole lot of trauma caused by, pitting communities against each other. And there
Ooh.
wasn't a lot of opportunity for my dad and his siblings to, like, have a nice life. I mean, that's a weird way of putting it, but the American dream is
Mhm.
plastered everywhere. So, my dad's brothers came here in the late 90s, and my dad came over to, like, just visit them, like, kind of like a vacation. But he ended up meeting my mom in the Jersey Shore,
Of
and
course.
then stuck around for a little bit. Then I came into the picture, and being a good Catholic boy, he married my mom, and here we are. I'm the oldest of 5 siblings, my family's still here,
Mhm.
you know, it worked out.
Yeah, and I'm sure your family is better off for it. I mean, yes, our country has issues. Don't get me wrong, but I
Oh,
mean, there's
yeah, no, it's
definitely
coming from one impoverished country to come
two.
here and be in poverty,
Uh,
unfortunately,
well,
but
it's the income inequality, and it wasn't always like that. I mean, I'm born and raised in Pittsburgh, and I've seen that too. We're from a large Italian American community, a large Irish American community too. I've
mhm,
got both. It's just it's fun to see just some of those cultures change by region too. It's a huge country. It's like impossible to accommodate every single person, and I think that's why we have the political mess that we do. There's just so much going on. It's
very
whoo, it's exhausting. That's why we got music at the end of our day. That-
exactly.
so was music always in your blood? Was it something you always did?
Oh, always. When I was growing up, there was always music around. I mean, Irish culture, there is so much music.
Hmm.
So I grew up like singing rebel songs, and my dad loved the Cranberries. So that
Oh,
was
yeah, of
like my
course.
introduction, but also like heavy metal, and like my mom's very 80s. She loves like Michael Jackson and Madonna. So there was always music around. I've been singing as long as I could speak.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think, everyone's got music in their blood, especially, like, people that have faced depression and stuff. Music is what, sets people's spirits free, and, I think a lot of, like, my ancestral heritage and spirits are within me as I sing. That was so silly, but it's
But
like
there's some
for
truth to
interviews,
it.
I, like, practice it in my head and, whatever comes out.
No, it's okay, but there's some truth to it. There's at least truth in the relief that you feel. And I mean, if you're kind of already indoctrinated with it because of your culture, that's one thing, but there's something to be said for the emotional release that comes through it. So you've been singing forever, you've been involved in music forever, you've been a fan of music forever. Where does Breaker come in?
So, when I was ever since I was little, I was doing musical theater, like, that was, like, the one
Of
outlet in my
course.
community that my mom put me in, and I was just in musical theater up until college, like, I thought it was the only thing that I could do, um, I mean, I always wanted to do music, it's, like, my favorite thing in the world, and musical theater was just where I sat, but, like, there's that thing where you don't see a lot of girls doing heavier music, which is what I was always drawn to.
Okay.
So, I was only ever singing like songs outside of musical theater by myself in my bedroom, putting on performances because I didn't think that I would be able to fit in that like music sphere.
Mm.
And then post college, I was doing that whole like Broadway audition thing, thinking like, oh, I got this, like I got the
Yeah.
degree, I put in so much hard work, and it was just rejection after rejection.
Ugh.
And it really, really took a toll on my mental health and like thinking like, what is wrong with me? But then I started going to like open mics and like just doing like karaoke and stuff. And I was like, wait, like people would come up to me after and be like, oh, you like sound really good, or are you in a band and stuff? I was like, I've never sung in a band before ever. So I started looking on Craigslist of
Of
all
course.
places to figure out like I initially wanted to join like a Kiss cover band or something because Kiss
That'd
is
be
my
cool.
favorite band. But I saw like an ad for Breaker, which was like just like a culmination of all like 80s covers and stuff. And I was looking at the song list. I was like, ooh, I would be like really good at this.
Everything you love already.
Yeah, so I sent them, like, a video of me at an open mic singing, and they asked me to come into audition, and, I just started dating my partner at the time, and I was like, "I don't know what I'm getting myself into, like, can you come with me to this audition?" Like, I found this on Craigslist, and he plays guitar, so he came with me, and he brought his guitar, and we all kinda jammed, and it was awesome, and then we kept meeting up, and we were like, "Okay, yeah, let's try to do this." So here
Yeah.
we are.
This could work. I love it. That's and I love the story of finding your own crowd too. Just because somebody else says you're not a fit for something doesn't mean you aren't a fit for something else.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad you didn't let that get you down. We've all had those moments. I had
Ye
those moments thousands of times when I was doing radio, like terrestrial radio. And I would get down about it too. I went through my whole episode too, and I was like, "Oh my god, I thought this was it. I thought I was good at this. I thought like this is what everybody told me I should be doing, and now I'm getting told I'm not." No, ma'am. You just have to find your own audience, and you have done a beautiful job at that. Do you think your previous experience, just as a performer and getting out there, even with those open mics, does that help you when it comes to what you do with Breaker today?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, with musical theater, for all the, because like, everyone knows, like, theater is just drama and theater kids
Mm,
and stuff, and, like, I never really felt like I fit into, like, the culture of theater as much, and I knew like, theater made me water myself down. Like,
mm,
I could play these other characters, but I was never able to, like, be my authentic self, like, I had to, like, dress a certain way to go to auditions, brand myself in a way that, like, just felt like plastic, but
yes.
what I will say with, like, the training in musical theater is, like, the songs serve as dialogue, and, like, you learn how to sing a song, but, like, be able to, like, convey the emotions of it and drive the character, and, that's been super helpful in, like, performing rock music and, just projecting the basic things, like, y taking up space on stage,
Mm.
so it's helped me in that way. But it's cool to finally be myself and to finally, like, find people who like who I am outside of theater.
Yeah. They're out there. They're out there. They've been out there. They're just finding you. They're letting you know now. It took a little bit. It took a minute, but they're letting you know now. So this is your first time fronting a band ever. I mean, is it what you thought it would be?
Um, I mean, it's so much better than I thought it would be. I love that, like,
Okay.
we can just do everything ourselves. Like, we don't really need to, like, ask for permission, like, we recorded the EP ourselves, like, the shows that we've been booking, it's just, like, having friends with other bands or like just like sending emails about like, hey, this is us, this is what we do. So like it's really cool having like the freedom. Um yeah, I mean it's been awesome. It is it's like we're not like huge or anything, but I feel like I'm making my teenage self happy.
Yes, the fulfillment, that healing your inner child. I mean, if I was a teenager, I would have wanted. I used to want to do the same thing too. I just never ended up finding a band and never really had any musical training anyway. But this is a fun alternative as well. So the EP, tell us all about it for anybody who doesn't know.
So we just put out our first EP. We recorded it in our rehearsal space. Um, we mixed it ourselves. It's 5 tracks of all of our original songs. It's kind of like it's a culmination of all the things we love, like from metal. Like there's like the 70s hard rock influence. There's the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, British heavy metal stuff, and even elements of like the US like glam stuff.
Of
Um,
course.
because we're all fans first. So making music that we want to hear is like important. And the reception's been pretty cool. We bought CDs. We've been selling them on Bandcamp. Surprising number. I wasn't expecting to sell over 10. Um, and we've almost sold 100, which is, like,
Okay.
insane because it hasn't even been out for a month yet, and, just trying to get the word out any way that we can.
Yeah. Was that something that was important to you just as a group, was to have those physical copies of
Yeah.
the disc? Because I see there's something nostalgic about those too. Because I mean, I'm old enough where I've been alive during the transition. I grew up with the CDs, and then now we moved to streaming, and everything's online today. So it's kind of hard. It's like, how do you balance both? How do you make those decisions as to what you prioritize? It sounds like for Breaker, y'all just followed your heart because y'all were fans already. I knew you were a fan of the music before, but it sounds like the rest of the band is too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, we're all kind of just fulfilling what we've collectively all wanted to do, but, I mean, Stevie, he's our bass player, and, Ben, he's our drummer/guitarist, slash guitarist. He also plays guitar on the CD.
Of
They've been
course.
in bands, like, way back in the '80s, like, they've been doing
Oh,
this
okay.
thing for a while, but, for them, it was like they wanted to start their own thing where they could like, they knew exactly what they wanted to do.
Mhm.
Um, and then they found me and Tegan, who also are just like so passionate about this stuff, and we all put our heads together and got it out there.
That's amazing. Let's talk about your incredible stage style for a moment because I mean the outfits are on they're on point. Duh, we're looking at it, we see it now. So let's talk about where you're finding the stage outfits. What's your style inspo?
Um, so I'm broke. A lot of us are broke. It is 2024.
Same.
I buy pretty much all my clothes are secondhand. I love thrifting. And also like Poshmark, Depop. But I'm the most annoying person to deal with online when buying clothes because I refuse to pay more than like 20 bucks for like anything. So a lot of my clothes come from like eBay bids or like negotiating on Depop or stuff like that. Like I love vintage clothing. And then my
Of course.
style icons are like Paul Stanley from Kiss. I mean Kiss is like kind of like the blueprint for like everybody in like
Honestly.
the trad metal scene. I feel like because they got the stage show, the outfits. They have so many different eras. Um, right now for stage stuff, because like I don't have like a set look yet. I'm still figuring it out. But I love like the lace gloves and like leather and kind of Rob Halford, Betsy Bitch,
Yeah.
anything 80s. Animal print. I love animal print. As we've already said.
No, I need some lessons from you though, because that's the one thing that like keeps me away from selling my items or negotiating online. I'm like, I'm a shit negotiator. I can't do it. because as soon as somebody gives me one offer, I'm like, oh, I'm already exhausted with how much I've been looking and all the time I've
Mhm.
spent deciding what I want and making sure it's the right size. I'm like, I don't want to haggle. I don't want to like go back and forth with you.
Yeah.
How do you teach me your ways? What's the secret to
It's
like good negotiation?
I mean, not even necessarily negotiation, but, like, on those apps, like, put your size, put, like, a limit on how much you're spending and, like, a
Oh,
general
okay.
idea of what you want, and it like, some people I got, this, like, awesome suede, tassel jacket from the '80s, and somebody was just selling it for $20, and it was probably buried under, like, people searching, but all you have to do is, like, put what you're willing to pay and just really dig.
Okay. And then there's not much haggling after that anyway, because the
Not
price
too
is
much.
what it
I
is at
mean,
that point.
Depop, you could be, like, quiet about it because they have that new feature where it's, like, offer, and I'll just keep
Oh,
going, "Offer, offer." I'm
I
annoying,
love
but,
that.
like, you gotta do what you gotta do.
You do. Yeah, it's hard out here. I'm hoping or things are gonna change. I hope. I'm hopeful anyway, but it's hard out here. It's been hard out here.
Mhm.
So what's next for you? What's next for Breaker? What are we looking forward to?
So really exciting, we found out last night we're gonna be opening up for Mike Tramp's White Lion.
Okay.
Um That's, like, our first, like it's gonna be, like it's at the Landis Theater, which is, like, a pretty big stage in Jersey, it's not pay to play, which is, like, so cool, 'cause,
Oh,
we got the gig 'cause, the lady who booked, like, our first few gigs had an inn at that place, and she was like, "Oh, Breaker would be pretty good for this," and she fought for us, and so we're looking forward to that in September. We're working a couple new songs to hopefully put out a full length, and, max goal down the road, I would love to play in Europe and see
oh,
more of the country, and, I've just started, using TikTok again, which has its pros and cons, but,
yeah.
a lot of girls are, like, posting the, like, manifesting and stuff, and I've been really trying to do that. If you say it out loud, maybe it'll happen, and it's worked so far, so we'll see.
When did it work? Tell me what you manifested.
The White Lion show, because
Really?
we started talking about that, like, back in May, and, like, the show's in a month, so we were kinda like, it's, like, not gonna happen," and I was like, "No, guys, it is gonna happen," and I
Well,
just really believed that was gonna happen, and it happened, so, the possibilities. Even, another thing they manifested, it sounds so silly putting it that way, but, our Spotify streams, because the
oh,
first 2, singles that we put out, like, I think they got, like, 100 streams, whatever, it was, like, the first thing we put out, and
mhm.
then we put out the EP, and I was like, "It's gonna hit the algorithm at some point. We don't have
Yes.
to pay for this," and it did. I mean, it's not, like, anything crazy, but we've got over, 1,000 streams, which means with, our next releases, we'll have more of the perks of using because Spotify is so annoying. It's like, and once you get,
I
like, your first 1,000, then you can use their, like, features of campaigns or pitch to playlists. I don't know.
Okay. It sounds like YouTube too. They want you to have like at least a
We
thousand
we're getting
subscribers.
better streams.
Yeah.
And it was because I really manifested it. I was gonna say hoped for it, but
Listen, the word is the word. If it worked, it worked. I don't care what you
yeah,
call it.
right.
It
Just be delusional and believe it and just keep going for it. Something will
That's so
happen.
interesting because you detailed more about Spotify than I was even aware of. Because I mean, I've
Mhm.
heard other musicians talking about just very generally that it's tough to get on a playlist, it's tough to get that exposure, it's tough to get part of the Spotify algorithm and be recognized by Spotify users. I didn't know there was this whole like if you hit a certain amount of streams and that helps your case. It sounds like it kind of works like YouTube or
Yeah,
whatever. Like
yeah,
like when you hit 1,000 subscribers or whatever, there's that thing with YouTube. Similar
mhm.
thing for Spotify. It sounds like.
Yeah, because whenever we put out the first 2 singles, I was like, "Oh, they have all these features that'll, like, help us boost our streams,and then I click it, and it's like, "You are locked out of this content. You need to hit, like, a
Right.
certain amount," and I was like, "Oh my god."
We don't have time for that. We have time to go anywhere, and that's including up from
Yeah.
here. Period.
Mhm.
We're ready. We're ready. I'm so excited to see what's to come. Claire, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me. Have a great rest of your day.